What's up, everybody? Welcome to BioWatch 3 Raw TV. Well, today, August 7th, 2020, we got something to talk about today. So, the bodybuilding world has been, of course, flipped upside down like everything else in the world with the coronavirus and the different restrictions that we have going on and stuff like that. But they moved the Olympia this year to December. Now, there's been rumors within the last few months of Kai Green coming back, this one coming back, that one coming back. And of course, we have James Flex Lewis actually moving to the open class, right? As far as I know, and I have not, I don't want to put the horse before the cart again. But I haven't heard anything about Dexter competing, although, Dexter was supposed to be his last year, but I'm hearing now that next year is going to be his last year because he didn't really get to compete this year very much, or at all, I think. Did he do the Arnold? I think he was in the Arnold. And of course, Brandon Curry's coming back. We haven't heard anything about Sean Roden yet because, of course, his court dates and stuff like that, everything's been kind of screwed up from the coronavirus. But I kept hearing this kind of buzzing in the background, right? Phil Heath, Phil Heath, Phil Heath. And I'm like, look, if Phil was going to do the Olympia, he would have started his prep like he normally does, like end of May, beginning of June, around there. And now, Phil's a friend of mine. I have not discussed this with him one bit because I didn't even know if it was in the realm of possibilities. And I don't know if you guys saw on his social media, him and his wife, Cherie, they moved, to a different house and stuff. So they were moving and stuff, and that's a giant pain in the ass and stressful and stuff. So I thought, there's no way. I said he would have started his diet and stuff, and the moving and stuff. It seems like there'd be too much going on. Well, it wasn't dawning on me that because the Olympia was moved from September to December, that it's 3 months later, which means that if someone was going to prep for the Olympia, they would start their prep 3 months later. Didn't even dawn on me because I'm stupid. So as of today, the announcement was made. Phil Heath is coming back for number 8. Now, things are getting even more interesting right now, right? So, aside from the fact that we're not sure Dexter is coming back, if he does come to the Olympia, you'd have Dexter, Brandon Curry, and Phil Heath, all former Mr. Olympias competing at the same time. All usual top 5 in the last few years. I'm sitting there thinking to myself, well, now it's getting interesting, right? And now if Kai Green decides to jump in there, because we keep hearing stuff about Kai and all this stuff, now you're like, wait a minute, even though, this year has not been the most exciting, in the world of bodybuilding, but I mean, it hasn't been the most exciting for anything that's going on with all the crazy shit that's going on. But now you have Phil returning for 8, right? Number 8, which is not a record, it's a record tying, Olympia. It's not the record setting, which would be 9, but I have been very vocal in the past saying that I think that Phil has 9 in him at least. I really, really do. And I'm excited. Like I said, I haven't talked to him yet. And even when I do talk to Phil, it's not usually about bodybuilding. Like, we talk about other stuff. We talk about families, life. We talk about all kinds of other stuff besides bodybuilding. Like, we literally don't, I don't think we even talk about bodybuilding at all, because it's just not the forefront of our conversations. And, I'm looking at it now going like, yes, he absolutely, all right, let's break it down a little bit, right? You have Phil returning. Now, I feel personally in my heart of hearts, not because Phil's a friend of mine, but I feel that Phil is so dominant when he's on 100% that I really don't see anybody in this lineup beating him. Now, that's just my opinion as of right now, okay? 100% Phil Heath walking in there, and he had the surgery to have his hernia fixed and stuff. 100% Phil Heath with the conditioning and the three-dimensional kind of look that he has, and he's got enough size. I just don't see anybody beating him, even Kai. But that's just my personal opinion, and I'm a little biased because he is my friend. But I'm just saying, from a standpoint of who would be on that stage this year, I see Phil being able to take that number 8. Now, that being said, the dark horse that we've never really seen standing next to Phil is Flex Lewis. Now, I did make a video saying that I feel like Flex Lewis could absolutely win the Olympia. Now, the fact that Phil's jumping in there, Phil is that brick wall that Flex Lewis is going to hit on his way to the top. Now, I'm not saying Brandon Curry can't win. I'm not saying any of that stuff. What I'm saying is, based on these guys being 100%, Phil is the standard, and he was for 7 years straight. That is, you can't take that away from him, plain and simple. You have somebody like Dexter, they say, oh, he's arguably one of the best. Well, Phil won 7 straight Olympias, which Dexter hasn't done, and Dexter is the winningest bodybuilder of all time, but 7 Olympias, different ball game. If he ties, he'll be tied with Ronnie Coleman and Lee Haney. That's it. That's it. So he will be the 3rd individual that was able to win 8 Olympias. Now, let's back this up a second. So you have Brandon Curry, who's got a great physique, reigning Mr. Olympia, right? You have James Flex Lewis hopping in the open division, which I feel like he's a threat right away. I don't know if Hadi Chupan is coming. I don't know who's not going to be able to get in the country to compete. Like, we're not really sure yet exactly what's going on, like, all the way around. But today's video is really just about Phil. And I said, man, that makes sense that if he's 3 months later, he starts a prep now, he's going to be in shape. And Phil never gets out of shape. So, like, he's well within striking distance of being his best. But the thing that I like for Phil going into this, that I think is his advantage this time, is Phil's body and mind are rested. He's had a year off, right, to rest his body. Now, he keeps training, right, but he's not pushing his body into contest prep, which that's when a lot of the damage really happens to your body. Like your mind kind of like burns out, your body starts to burn out. After 7 Olympias, he took a year off. Coming back for 8, refreshed with that time off, not pushing his body and then launching into a contest prep, we could absolutely see the best Phil Heath we've ever seen. He's got more mass now than when he first came out. His body's fresh. He should respond to the training and the diet just as good, if not better than ever. He's a little more mature muscle-wise. He's been training, so the density might even be a little better now too, since he's just been training the whole time. And I'm like, man, this actually could be a dominant Phil Heath to the point where he walks on stage and then you go, okay, Phil, thank you, and send him to the back. Like, it could absolutely be one of those things. Now, I think that a lot of people are like, well, he's been out for a year and he could have lost a step. Listen, just because you weren't on stage doesn't mean you weren't training. Doesn't mean you didn't have a game plan. Now, I don't know if this was Phil's plan all along. Maybe it was. Take that year off, rest his body up, have the surgery, and come back, excuse me, better than ever. That very well could have been the game plan all along. But the bottom line is, I think we're going to see a refreshed and newly enthused Phil Heath. And I think mentally he's in a different place too. Like, now it's not the pressure of being the reigning Mr. Olympia and winning X amount of times in a row consecutively. It's going back to win an 8th title, but it's not the same as when you're on top and you're worried about staying on top. Once you've been knocked off, now to me, this is what it always seems like to me, the people get hungrier. They get to the point where they can push harder, they dig deeper, and they wind up being better in the long run. Jay Cutler did the same thing. When he lost the Olympia, he's the only bodybuilder to ever win the Olympia after losing it. So there's a possibility Phil could come in now, win the Olympia again, and be the second person in history to win the Olympia back after losing it. On top of it, taking an 8th title, which ties him with the 2 former Mr. Olympias, which arguably people argue when they talk about the best, talk about Lee Haney, they talk about Ronnie Coleman. Kai's thrown in there too. But really, to be the best bodybuilder, you have to win the Olympia. Like, that's what the best bodybuilder is. So to be in that conversation, I feel like Kai has to win the Olympia to be included in that conversation. It's my personal opinion, and that's just the way that the standard has always been. You can have your preferences and decide what you like looks better and stuff like that, but realistically, the best bodybuilder in the world is Mr. Olympia. Now, in order to be one of the best ever, you're going to have to hold that title at some point, and probably hold that title many times, multiple times, to be able to consider one of the best, if not the best. So we have Phil in that genre as well. So now I'm stepping back going, hey, this actually could be quite an awesome Olympia. Let's say Kai does throw his hat back in there. Okay, that's even better, because now we have Phil coming back refreshed, a refreshed Kai. We have Brandon Curry coming back. I saw some pictures of him in the offseason. He looked enormous. He looked gigantic, right? We have Flex Lewis, who he stayed covered up this whole time, like since he went from the 212 and he's moving into the open, but you could just see it coming through his clothes. You could just see his forearms, his calves, like the dude's still growing. So you have just those people. Now Dexter's in there. Dexter, of course, people talking about him kind of missing a step a little bit now and how he's starting to go backwards a little bit, and he announced his retirement based on stuff like that this year. But let's say you got a Dexter that, for most of this year was, pretty laid back and letting himself rest like everyone else during the quarantine and stuff. Now you have a new Dexter Jackson that's renewed and refreshed also, and we could see a better version of Dexter than we have in the last couple of years also. So now I'm sitting back going, hey, now we got, we have a battle. Now we have one of those things where like, who's going to win? Who's going to win? We don't know until the day of the show. We don't know who put it together, who missed their peak. We don't know any of that shit until the day of the show. So I'm not going to speculate, but I'm excited. Like, I'm actually excited. Like, this year I was like, the Olympia's moved in December, and I was like, I don't know, it's always into September, and that's Aaron and I's anniversary, and it's just like a tradition. We go to the Olympia, we celebrate our anniversary out there and stuff. It was moved to December, which is my birthday month, and it's like 2 days after my birthday, which just seems weird to me, and I was just like, man, things are just so different, and I was like, I don't really know who's going to show up, who's not, who's been able to stick through their I don't want to say prep, but stick through their training programs and protocols and stuff while they were in quarantine. But now we have, you know, Phil hopping in there, and I was like, man, this is getting interesting. And we still have, you know, a good amount of time till the Olympia, so we don't even know who else might possibly throw their hat in there. I know Big Ramy is planning on doing a qualifier. He's getting ready now, and he said he'll try to do like the last qualifier before the Olympia, because he's going to try to qualify and be in the Olympia also. So it's like we could have Ramy, Phil, could have Kai, Dexter we could have in there, we could have Brandon Curry back, we are having a Brandon Curry back as far as I know, and then James Flex Lewis. I mean, that's 6 guys right there that are really the top in our sport, right? They're the top guys in our sport. And here we go, you know, and I'm just sitting back and I'm like, now it's getting exciting. So I hope, you know, I hope that Phil has a great prep, and I don't know if he'll be doing interviews and stuff like that leading up to it. I don't know if he's going to want to just focus on it, because it is a big one, you know, a comeback as well as the 8th Olympia title. It's a big one. It's important. You know what I mean? It's a historical, time. It's a historical win for him, you know, if he walks off stage with that Sandow. But the bottom line is the Olympia is getting more and more interesting, and now I'm getting excited. You know, at first it was like, I don't know, but now I'm getting pumped, you know. Now I can't wait to see who's prepping and, you know, what happens during the preps and stuff. And most of them are getting started now for the Olympia, which is, I think it's going to be pretty interesting because, you know, through the trials and tribulations of this whole year of 2020, who will be able to mentally withstand this prep with everything that's going on? Wearing masks, closing of gyms, like all this different stuff, you know, not being able to get, you know, different types of food and stuff because there's different places that are out of certain foods and stuff. Like we were out of chicken here at one point in Fairfax. Like there was no chicken, and I was like, how the fuck do you run out of chicken? Like there's just random shit this year that normally wouldn't be an issue in anyone's prep. And I'm interested to see how these guys deal with it, because champions overcome, right? They adapt and overcome, and that's what they're going to have to do, and that's what they're doing now. So as we head into Olympia season, which is coming up, yeah, it's just getting more and more interesting, and I can't wait to see the outcome. So guys, keep an eye out. Phil's coming back. It was, you know, something that I had hoped would happen, and I hope that he doesn't stop with 8. I'll be honest with you. I hope that he goes for 9, because I do believe he can get 9 Sandows and be the all-time, you know, winningest Mr. Olympia. I do believe he has that in him. I do believe he has the genetics, the work ethic, all of it. And I do believe he has the physique. And it's just going to be a matter of if time tells whether or not that comes into fruition, whether or not he wants to go after 9. But we need to focus on number 8 first in the 2020 Olympia. So chime in below. Let me know what you guys think down below. Remember, don't fight. Just talk, chime in, but don't fight. Let me know what you guys think, if you're excited about this whole situation, and what your opinions are, and who you, as of right now, which is almost impossible to tell, who you have winning the Olympia this far out. BastardChang@gmail.com. Leave comments down below, but don't fight. BastardChang.com is a blog. It's to let me know who you guys got bicep. Get that up there. And we are out.